Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on Kcaa, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. And this song is an object lesson.
Yes.
About what happens when you get all jacked up.
Jack.
What, you eat a Jack in the Box?
Right?
No, that's not what that means. That means you act like an idiot when you get drunk.
Right.
You lose time, you do stupid things, your ability to make decisions goes out the window, but you do have fun.
But you don't remember it.
You don't remember it, so it doesn't matter.
That's right.
You read about it on social media later.
Right. And all your friends are posting pictures like, did I do that? Did I do that?
So over the last year, we've been covering the story about Wells Fargo and how they incentivized opening accounts to the point where people were opening accounts without the customer's knowledge.
Yeah, the employees would get bonuses based on the number of new accounts that they started. So they just began creating fraudulent accounts so that they could get their bonus money.
Crazy, right?
Right. And then when the bank found out about it, they did not tell people, right? So you may have had an account open in your name, which of course affects your credit rating and all these other things, and people could be doing stuff using this to do other illegal activities in an account with your name on it, and you'd have no clue. No clue at all.
Crazy, right?
Yeah.
So the Navajo Nation is now suing Wells Fargo, and because they say its citizens were targeted by workers trying to meet the bank's aggressive sales quota. This is from the LA Times. The lawsuit filed Tuesday in federal court in Albuquerque alleges many of the same practices that led to last year's $185 million settlement between Wells Fargo and regulators, including the creation of unauthorized banking accounts, credit cards, and other products. So it's bad enough when someone steals your identity.
Yeah.
When the bank that you do business with does it. And think about it. If you open up a credit card in someone's name or even a bank account, it affects their credit.
Yes.
So maybe they've been saving to buy a house and they want to buy a house, but now all of a sudden they've got credit cards they didn't know they had, and they can't qualify because it looks like they have too much revolving credit.
Yes. And a person who discovers this stuff, might be thinking, oh, this must just be a mistake, and then they're trying to figure it. This is not an easy thing to figure out and then solve, right? And we don't have that ease in our system, and so a lot of people, I'm sure, were put through a lot of sort of personal strain and anxiety as they were trying to sort of discover and figure out what happened to them.
So the lawsuit goes further. Alleging that the San Francisco bank targeted particularly vulnerable members of the Navajo Nation, including minors, the elderly, and those who do not speak English. It also alleges that Wells Fargo lied to the tribe when in a letter sent earlier this year, it said no tribal members were harmed by the bank's sales practices. This shows a specific targeting of an ethnic community in the United States, and within subgroups of vulnerable Navajos, said John Houston, an LA attorney representing the tribe. It's a level of exploitation of a vulnerable community that has not surfaced in other cases to date, and I absolutely agree.
Wow. Now, the Navajo Nation is seeking damages, fines, and penalties of more than $50 million, right?
Which at Wells Fargo, let's be honest, $50 million is a
bucket.
rounding error.
Yeah. Yeah. The problem is that it's a rounding error, but it affects everyone who banks at Wells Fargo.
Indeed.
Right?
Indeed. Well, yeah. They're going to raise fees.
Yeah.
Wells Fargo spokesman Jim Seitz said in a statement that the bank could not comment on ongoing litigation, but he reiterated steps the bank had taken to compensate consumers and change practices in the wake of last year's accounts scandal. Over the past year, we have taken significant steps to make things right for our customers, including members of the Navajo Nation who may have been affected by unacceptable retail sales practices.
Yeah. It's interesting to me. People figure out ways to scam the system. And I remember back when I was a younger man and I worked for the Sun newspaper, and I was right out of college, and they hired me to be what they called a district manager. And I had all these people who were paper carriers who delivered the newspapers, right? And they were running a special where that if you signed up for the paper, you would get, if my carrier got you to sign up for the paper, the carrier would get a $10 bonus on their paycheck. Well, I had one young carrier who went and signed up a whole bunch of people and got couple $100 of money added to his paycheck. Well, it turns out that these were not real subscribers. And he was then taking the papers. He would end up with 20, 30, 40 extra papers every day because he had signed all these people up on his route. And he would take them after his route was over and then sell them on the street corner to make additional money that way as well. So he was double selling the newspaper. And
but you say double selling, except the newspaper never got a dime of any of it.
Exactly. The newspaper never got any money because no one ever paid the bill for those. And anyway, when they found out what the kid had done, he got terminated. But he was using the system as a way. People do this. They look for these kind of loopholes, and it's the same kind of thing that happened at Wells Fargo.
So Wells Fargo is the only major bank that has locations within the Navajo Nation.
Wow.
And I'm thinking that that's going to be changing.
You think?
I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's the thing. I imagine that if there are Wells Fargo banks on other tribal land, that it's highly likely that they'll get the boot from at least a good chunk of them.
Yeah.
Because if you're going to exploit one, you'll exploit them all. And this is their sovereign land.
Yeah. Yes, they are.
So Wells Fargo doesn't, they can get the boot.
Yeah, and it's a different legal and justice system on Navajo land, on Indian land. So,
it is.
Yeah.
It is. So for more information about this, like I said, this article is from the LA Times, which we get a lot of material from the LA Times.
Yeah,
I
we
like
do.
the LA Times. So Inc. magazine has an article on 5 masterful ways that people with emotional intelligence avoid drama and conflict.
I want to avoid drama and conflict. I teach middle school,
Yeah,
and
you
that's
can't.
all
I'm
I deal
sorry.
with. It's all I deal with every day.
Don't
is
you
drama
remember
and
being a
conflict.
middle schooler where every emotion was felt so intensely?
Yes, and I remember it every day, right after lunch. And they come in, and they're like, "Ah!"
This happened at lunch, and she said this, and he did that, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, and it's just
It's
Do we
so
need-
hard.
Do we need so much drama and conflict?
Exactly. But they're good kids.
Yeah, they are.
So in a recent report, Top Human Resources were asked to forecast the 10 job skills they feel will be an absolute requirement by the year 2020. Coming in at number 6 was emotional intelligence, which surprisingly landed above more cognitive skills like judgment and decision making and negotiation. Emotional intelligence has garnered considerable press over the years as an important predictor of job success, surpassing technical ability. In 2011, a Career Builder survey of more than 2,600 U.S. hiring managers and human resources professionals revealed that 71% valued emotional intelligence in an employee over high IQ.
Wow.
So if you have a high IQ individual who can't get along with anybody, and is a royal pain in the neck, you're going to fire them.
Yep.
High IQ or not. So understanding the key aspects of EI, genuinely modeled by your own colleagues or leaders in the first... Understanding the key aspects of emotional intelligence genuinely modeled by your own colleagues or leaders is the first step to help your ability to diffuse conflict and minimize your contribution to office drama. If you're curious, ask yourself whether you're known for displaying these behaviors at work and whether you can learn from someone on your team who displays this behavior. Number 1, you assess your situation to know what's stressing you out.
Yes.
Do an honest. You got to look at yourself first, right? And ask yourself why a situation makes you feel threatened, uncomfortable, worried, stress, etc. You'll find that most emotionally intelligent people process their thoughts carefully and drill down till they get to the root of the matter, going below the symptom level to reveal the core of what they're feeling. For example, if you're angry at someone or something or someone, it may be a secondary emotion to something much deeper, the primary emotion. That remains unresolved from the recent or distant past. This may be the source of your festering anger and resentment. Number 2, you're naturally positive and optimistic. And there's Tobin. Tobin's pretty bouncy.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Tobin carries the sunshine within.
Yes, I've been told that. And I think it really helps me on those dark middle school days.
Oh, would you stop?
But that's I use humor as a way to keep myself optimistic. You kind of have to laugh sometimes when you see some of these stressful situations
Yeah.
because that's what helps you to get through. And I agree with that number 2. You got to be positive and optimistic. It's how you cope and deal.
Well, you chosen and love the work that you do in a school with kids who go through some serious life events before, have gone through during their childhood or continuing to go through them. Very serious life events.
Yeah.
Death of a parent, incarceration of a parent, foster care, or, having to move a lot or whatever.
I've got a ton of kids in foster care this year. And actually, even as you say it, yesterday I, in the course of a conversation, said something, and I could tell that one of my kids that's in foster care, that it rubbed her wrong. And so this morning I've got to figure out some way to sort of smooth that over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because you never want to intentionally cause someone to feel distress, but it's easy to do sometimes if you're not being very sensitive to each person's sort of individual situation. You know?
So number 3 is you're well balanced. Do you balance empathy and kindness with a capacity to assert yourself and set boundaries with others when needed? If you do, this ability is ideal for managing conflict. While it's important to display our most virtuous behaviors to develop and maintain healthy relationships, emotionally intelligent people do that while drawing the line when others violate their values or mutual agreements. This necessary balance helps keep emotionally intelligent people away from unfiltered emotional reaction and enables them to counteract toxic people.
This one's tough, right? Setting those boundaries, because usually what happens is someone's crossed way over the boundary, and now you've got to back them up. Now you've got to say, whoa, that really hurt me. That's upsetting to me.
Right.
And you can't do that. And that's the hard conversations, right? And oftentimes, because they've crossed over the line, now you're emotionally engaged in a way that's not, makes it even harder for you to respond in a calm, cool way to push them back over the line,
Yes.
And so that's the hardest one for me, is to keep that balance. Because once you're triggered, once somebody has crossed over that boundary and said something or done something to you, now to be able to keep it in check and tell them, hey, you crossed that boundary, that is,
So we'll actually, we got one more. And I will say, I've got 2 more. We'll do that after the break.
Okay.
I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show, and we'll be right back.
I'm Dr. Anthony Leisowitz, and this is Climate Connections. After Superstorm Sandy, artist Mary Mattingly kept thinking about the homes that had been flooded by seawater and about the threats posed by extreme storms and sea level rise. These concerns inspired her to create a floating piece of art called Wetland. First shown on the Delaware River in Philadelphia, the converted houseboat looked like a city row house that had been tipped over and partially submerged.
Like a house that was either rising from the water or falling into the water.
Wetland functioned as a floating classroom, encouraging conversations about climate change. It also demonstrated ways to reduce dependence on fossil fuels and adapt to changing conditions.
Wetland had chickens for eggs, it had solar energy and rainwater collection.
But this summer, Wetland met an untimely fate. After major storms, it sank in Philadelphia's Schuylkill River. As Mattingly considers if and how to repair it, she is reminded of people who've lost their homes to flooding and the hard decisions they've faced about rebuilding. So even in its demise, Wetland continues to provoke conversations about adapting to a changing climate. Climate Connections is produced by the Yale Center for Environmental Communication. Learn more at yaleclimateconnections.org.
The holiday season is upon us.
Ho, ho, ho.
And here comes all the little shopping elves. As a small business, it's a joyous time. But wait a minute. Where are all those elves? Why aren't the 4 million elves in the Elfland Empire hearing about your great holiday deals and hightailing their elf toes to your website or store?
It's all about the Prancermans.
Why? You have a shiny store. Why? You have a great website. Stand out among the dozens of your competitors. Do something different this year. Advertise on Kcaa. Right now, elves are putting their elf money in your competitors' pockets. Change it up and put their elf jingle in your jingle pockets. Even the most broke elves can afford to get their messages on Kcaa. At Kcaa, we've got a holiday package for everyone. Don't be left out in the cold. Call a Kcaa elf today at 793-1065 or log on to kcaaradio.com and advertise.
You can't afford not to.
Hi, everybody. Ray Lucia here with some important information about debt, your debt. Whether you have a first or second mortgage, you're looking to buy or refi a home or rental property, or just need to consolidate your credit cards to lower your payments and save some serious interest, you need to do some loan financial planning with Steve Alladort, my mortgage man, at loanfinancialplanner.com. Now, Steve's not your garden variety mortgage broker. He actually spends time evaluating how you can use the current super competitive interest rates to pay off your mortgage early, purchase a rental property, improve your cash flow, upgrade to your dream home, or even help your kids or grandkids get into a house. That's what loan financial planning is all about. Steve's been helping me and my listeners for over 2 decades, and I can tell you he is the best finance guy in the business. Go to loanfinancialplanner.com. That's loanfinancialplanner.com.
Or call Steve Alladort at 888-563-1070. That's 888-563-1070.
Locals in Loma Linda and Redlands all know and love the Family Homestyle Cafe, the home of the world's largest pancakes and the delicious mouth-watering food cooked up daily by their well-trained chefs. Sizzling thick-cut bacon, ham, and hand-pressed sausage. They take pride in the best quality, great economical values, with better portions served up with the pride of local ownership and great service. Near the corner of Anderson and Redlands Boulevard in Loma Linda, if you haven't tried out Chef Mark's Delights, you haven't had some of the best food in the area. And now, Chef Mark is upgrading his cafe and offering space for on-site gatherings, luncheons, and parties. Add a DJ for a great holiday party or luncheon, and you've got a no-fuss event with all the bells and whistles. Call Mark today at 909-478-9996. That's 909-478-9996. Or stop by the Homestyle Cafe in Loma Linda at Anderson and Redlands Boulevard.
KCAA, where every day is a great day.
Man was bothering me today, and I wanted to tell him to go away, but I stood and listened to him anyway, okay? Said I didn't want to shoot that.
Welcome back. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on the Brink, the morning show on KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Listen to some Zac Brown Band. Tobin and I are huge Zac Brown Band fans.
Yes, we are.
We love the Zac Brown Band.
I had my knees in the water.
And your toes in the sand?
Yes. I was reading. I was singing that song, listening to that song on the way in this morning.
So, all right. So back to a list of emotional intelligence. And I want to go back to the well-balanced thing real quick, which we talked about before the break. I struggle with this one because I generally, if somebody steps on my toes, I generally don't say anything until they really step on my toes.
Yeah.
And then I'll say something. And at that point, there's emotion behind it.
Yeah.
And that's not a good thing. You know, you want it to be when you're talking with someone, you want to be as calm, cool, and collected as possible. Not that I scream at people, I don't.
Yeah.
But you know, I need to be better about talking about my own boundaries.
Yeah, I think we all do. I mean, again, I think that's the one that I think if you were to talk to people, that's the one that I think everyone struggles with because it is so hard, right? And again, like we said, it's not until someone's actually crossed the line, right, that most of us are even willing to admit that there is a line.
Or maybe we're not aware that there is a line.
Yeah.
And you're like, whoa, what, you know.
So it's hard because we're not aware there's a line and because we don't talk about it to say to someone prior to or in advance, hey, you know, if you're going to be my friend or we're going to be in a relationship, you know, I cannot have you, you know, saying these kinds of things or doing these kinds of things. You know, we don't do that.
Right.
We just don't. And so it usually happens in that those heated moments when someone, like I said, they've crossed the line. Now you're emotional, they're emotional, and it's the fight.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. So, number 4, you manage your emotions better than most. And this falls under self-management or self-regulation in emotional intelligence and is a personal competence found in high performers. The question behind self-management is simple but rare. Can I manage my emotions to positive outcomes? And psychologist and best-selling author Daniel Goleman says this is about people who manage their emotions well. Reasonable people, the ones who maintain control over their emotions, are the people who can sustain safe and fair environments. In these settings, drama is very low and productivity is very high. Top performers flock to these organizations and are not apt to leave them.
Yeah. Now, people always give me high marks in this particular category. And, here it says you manage your emotions better than most. I sometimes feel like I hide my emotions better than most, right?
Well, let's be honest. Yeah, that's what that means.
Yeah, And so I may be seething inside or emotionally upset inside, but my outer exterior doesn't show it, and I'm still able to sort of work and continue to be productive. But that's a tricky one.
It is a tricky one.
You shouldn't be hiding your emotions. You should be able to express them and whatever. But it's for a lot of people, it really is, I think, hiding the emotions.
So number 5, you display empathy. People are drawn to empathy. It's an attractive quality to have in building successful relationships at work. In fact, DDI research has proven that empathy is the number 1 driver of overall organizational performance. It's the strength of high-performing and collaborative teams that produce results. In empathy, you'll find a team member thinking about another colleague's challenge or frustration, knowing in his or her mind that those emotions are every bit as real as his or her own. This uncanny ability to understand and share the feelings of another helps develop perspective and opens team members to helping one another.
That's awesome.
It is awesome. If you know somebody's, they've got a very sick parent, or maybe their child is having some issues at home or at school, or these are very real things, or their marriage is having a challenge, or there's been the death in the family. These are things that really are very impactful in someone's life, and you have to be understanding that we're not robots. And once upon a time, the American workplace, you had to be a robot, and I don't think that's healthy for anyone.
Yeah. Now, I don't know about you, but for me, I have empathy, but I sometimes just don't know the right thing to say. So my heart is really going, for you when you're struggling, but I'm always kind of at a loss for words, and that's my hard part.
Yep. So we are actually over time. I'm Erin Brinker.
And I'm Tobin Brinker.
And we are on The Brink, the morning show on KCAA, AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3. Thank you for joining us today.
KCAA Loma Linda, 1050 AM, 106.5 FM, and now 102.3 FM.
The Inland News Update with Blake Trolley.
Disaster declared in Riverside County. Riverside County is declaring the recent Santa Ana winds a local emergency. The Board of Supervisors made the formal announcement today, which could open the door to relief under the California Disaster Assistance Act. Supervisors said the winds contributed to numerous brush fires and power outages, which caused some schools to close. People in Santa Barbara County didn't get sugar-coated information on the Thomas fire. At a community meeting yesterday afternoon, CAL FIRE Battalion Chief Chris Childers laid it on the line.
It's not going to be quick and it's not going to be easy, and we have predictions of bad weather by Friday, so it might be a real battle, but I don't want to be too negative. We're hoping and we're working really hard.
Santa Barbara County Fire Chief Eric Peterson said that last night's weather should be the same as the night before, highlighted by extremely low humidity. He noted that at 234,000 acres, the Thomas fire is almost the same size as the enormous Zaka fire of 10 years ago. CAL FIRE Incident Commander Jeff Pemberton said firefighting aircraft yesterday dropped 204 million gallons of water and at 1.2 million gallons of fire retardant on the blaze. Some 7,000 firefighters are maintaining a 20% containment on the flames. A San Bernardino man is facing burglary charges in Jurupa Valley. Authorities say that Jose Rodriguez was charged yesterday with trying to force his way into a home Friday on Riverview Drive. His alleged burglary attempt was foiled by the 70-year-old homeowner, who met him in the living room with a gun while his wife called the police. A local murderer sentenced to life. Charlie Molick has more.
Sierra Lamar's murderer will spend the rest of his life in prison. The judge sentenced Antolin Garcia Torres to life in prison without the possibility of parole yesterday after a jury found the kidnapper guilty in May. Lamar's father hopes in prison, quote, will be a living hell, unquote. The 15-year-old Sierra disappeared on her way to school near Morgan Hill in March of 2012. Now, back to you, Blake.
Your forecast today, 78 degrees in Redlands, cooling off to 42 degrees by tonight. With the Inland News Update, I'm Blake Trolley.
NBC News Radio, I'm Lisa Carter. Stunning end to that special U.S. Senate race in Alabama with the victory of Democrat Doug Jones.
I am truly overwhelmed.
Jones, the projected winner of yesterday's hotly contested race, but Republican Roy Moore is refusing to concede the election, telling his supporters that it's not over and that a recount may be in order. Meanwhile, Democratic women are celebrating Jones's election. New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand tweeted that Jones's election is a victory for showing up, fighting to the end, and standing for what's right. Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren said a Democrat was elected in Deep Red, Alabama, because Jones is a great candidate with the right message. Firefighters still have a long way to go on that massive wildfire tearing through Southern California. The Thomas Fire has burned 236,000 acres in Ventura and Santa Barbara counties and is only 25% contained. It's destroyed more than 900 structures. Lisa Carter, NBC News Radio.
It's time for your KCAA AM 1050, FM 106.5, and FM 102.3 traffic report. I'm Erin Brinker. In Rancho Cucamonga on the 210 eastbound, before Archibald, an accident is blocking the right lane, and traffic is stopped and backed up to Campus Avenue, or from Campus Avenue. The 210 west is heavy from Milliken. In San Diego County, Rainbow, on the 15 southbound between the 79 Winchester Road and Rainbow Valley Boulevard, there's stop-and-go traffic. In Ontario, on the 60 eastbound before Vineyard, a wreck is now along the right shoulder. And finally in Fontana, on the 10 westbound after Sierra, an accident has been cleared and there's slow traffic backed up from Cedar. This has been your KCAA traffic. We are the stations that leave no listener behind. I'm Erin Brinker. This report is brought to you by Unbound.org. What is the education of your children worth? There are children across the world who lack the privilege of going to school. Change the story for one child at Unbound.org.
Every occasion and every day should be exceptional. This Christmas, treat your family and friends to the ultimate artisan treat at Donna's Truffles. They use the finest chocolates to create experiences. Donna's Truffles are handmade Parisian style. Each truffle is preservative-free and created with the utmost attention to detail. Each handcrafted truffle uses only the finest chocolate and freshest ingredients for a chocolate treat near perfection. Donna's Truffle recipes have 25 unique and creamy flavors, including double chocolate, orange, and Bavarian mint. They even have delicious Christmas flavors like eggnog and gingerbread. Contact